You woke up this morning and didn't think about your father once. His name is somewhere in your head, maybe his face, maybe the way he holds a cup or loses his temper. That information sits there so quietly you forget it's even information. Take it away. No name, no face, no record. No way to know which man in the group was responsible for your existence. No concept that responsibility even applied. That was the default. Not for one strange culture, not for one forgotten tribe. For the overwhelming majority of time humans have existed on this earth, fatherhood was invisible. A biological fact with no witness. And the species didn't just survive that, it thrived inside it. Here's what most people assume. That the family, man, woman, children under one roof, is the natural shape of human life. It feels obvious because it's all you've ever seen. But obvious things have histories, and this one is shorter than you think. Humans are primates. Our closest living relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, don't pair bond. Females mate with multiple males. Males have no mechanism to identify their own offspring. For most of human prehistory, the evidence suggests we weren't operating very differently. That's not a fringe theory. That's what the behavior patterns and the bones keep pointing toward.
But here's where it gets strange. The oldest human social unit wasn't a couple, it was a band. Hunter-gatherer groups ran between 20 and 150 people, and within those bands, mating wasn't exclusive. Anthropologists call it multi-male, multi-female mating. The plain version? Most men in the group fathered children. Nobody could confirm which children belonged to which man. And this wasn't a problem. It was a solution. Because think about what uncertainty actually does. If any male in the group might be the father of any child, then every male has a genetic reason to protect every child. Not from warmth, from biology. The not knowing spread the protection evenly across the whole group. Infanticide, devastatingly common in species where males can identify which offspring aren't theirs, dropped because certainty dropped with it.
There are present-day societies that still operate on what anthropologists call partible paternity, the belief that a child can have more than one biological father. The Aché of Paraguay, the Bari of Venezuela. Researchers in the 1990s found that children recognized by multiple fathers in these communities had measurably higher survival rates. More men invested, more children lived. This isn't a modern theory about ancient people, it's ancient logic still running. And this is the part nobody teaches you. Biological fatherhood requires one piece of knowledge that was completely unavailable for most of human existence, that sex causes pregnancy. That connection isn't obvious. The gap between the act and the visible result is weeks. The gap between the act and birth is 9 months. For a species with no writing, no record keeping, no way to track invisible cause and delayed effect, that link didn't exist automatically. There's genuine anthropological debate about when different populations made that cognitive connection. Some researchers believe certain groups went thousands of years without mapping it. The Tully River people of Australia, documented in the early 20th century, reportedly had no cultural framework connecting intercourse to childbirth at the time of first contact. That finding is contested, but the fact that it's contestable at all should make you pause. Because if sex and pregnancy aren't connected in your mind, paternity isn't a gap in knowledge, it's a concept that hasn't formed yet. You can't search for something you don't know is missing. Which brings up an obvious question. If fathers were invisible, what kept children alive? What made any man invest in any child at all? The answer is grandmothers, literally. In the 1990s, anthropologist Kristen Hawkes developed what's now called the grandmother hypothesis.
Older women, past reproductive age, were the primary force keeping human children alive. They foraged, they provisioned, they allowed younger mothers to have another child sooner. And that investment is why humans live so far past reproductive age. A chimpanzee female stays fertile until near death. Human women stop reproducing decades before their lives end. That gap exists because grandmothers were doing the work fathers couldn't be assigned. The survival unit wasn't a couple, it was women across generations holding the line. That worked until land changed everything. Around 10,000 years ago, agriculture arrived. And agriculture introduced something that had never mattered before: accumulated resources, stored grain, owned land, herds of animals. And the moment resources accumulate, a question follows immediately behind them: who inherits this? That question made paternity urgent for the first time in human history.
You can see it in the burial sites. Before agriculture, relatively equal grave goods, flexible structures, limited evidence of inherited status. After, hierarchy, ownership, and a sudden sharp increase in cultural systems designed to control who women could be with and when and under what conditions. Not because ancient men were cruel, because the math changed. Certainty went from irrelevant to economically critical almost overnight in evolutionary terms, and human culture rebuilt itself around enforcing it. Marriage, lineage, surnames, inheritance law, virginity as a legal concept. Thousands of years of recorded history, religion, and civilization, all of it downstream from one biological asymmetry. You can always know who the mother is. The father requires proof. Once that gap had consequences, the entire world reorganized to close it. You carry your father's name, maybe his land, his debt, his legacy. That feels ancient, permanent, like it was carved into the nature of things. It wasn't. For most of human existence, the vast, quiet majority of it, nobody was asking whose child you were. You belonged to the group. The group was enough. The question that now organizes entire legal systems, entire family structures, entire senses of identity, that question is younger than farming. You've been living inside the answer to a problem your ancestors didn't have.